Okay, my English teacher friends. So I'm making this video because I think we're probably, a lot of us are in the same boat. One of the things I typically do in AP literature when I introduce poetry is start with Nancy Dean's voice lessons. I know that most of us probably have that book on our desk and have used it in our arsenal and have it in our repertoire. And I'm finding 2 years into the pandemic that a lot of what she has in that book is going right over the heads of my students. They're just not very skilled in practice with doing deep diction analysis, like language level analysis, and syntax is going straight over their head. So I'm finding that I need to backtrack a little bit and do some more skill building with regards to those things. I'm also just finding in general, and I've talked to a lot of teachers about this, students are having a tough time ascertaining deep meaning, deep reads in a text. So having them read and ask the questions, what is the authorial intent? Whoop, right over the head. How does the author construct meaning? Whoop, right over the head. So with my poetry unit that I'm doing right now, I'm going back to some super basics and am looking at some very contemporary, very accessible poetry that in ordinary years I probably would do with like 10th graders and 11th graders general ed, but I'm finding that my AP Lit students are about at that level this year given the COVID constraints that we've had the last 2 years. So as a side note, I don't teach poetry as a unit. I teach it every day. So I have 80-minute blocks and pretty much with pretty good fidelity, I do something called drop a poem, and we look at a poem a day. I just feel that that's a slippery area in AP Lit. I think if kids are going to perform poorly on the test, it may lie in their inability to read and write about poetry. So let me show you what I've done here. I have a lot of Nancy Dean-esque questions, but simplified. And what I've done is created a bit of Jeopardy. So it's a Jeopardy game. So I'll just put this up front because I don't know how far I can get in this presentation. I kind of want to cap this to about 8 minutes. So if you like what you're seeing with my videos, keep in mind that I'll be around quite a bit in the coming months. So I'll be doing a webinar a month with Perfection Learning, most likely the first Wednesday of every month with them, and that is free. And I'll also be doing some gigs with the National Writing Project. So with regards to this, if you want the Jeopardy PowerPoint that I'm going to show in a second, just email me at teachingwritingcoach@gmail.com. and I could pass it along. And then I think most of you know that Tim Freitas and I are writing a textbook together, and one of the things I've done to prepare for that is I've launched a course called the Teach It Right 5-Week Mastermind, and I'm looking for some real good stellar teachers that are looking to revamp their practice and incorporate my templates and some of my brain children into their teaching, and then just report back after a series of weeks to see how your students are doing and to see how you are doing. So there's information at www.teachinghowtowrite.com if that's something you're interested in, or just email me. So let's take a look at Jeopardy. So I split the class into 3 groups. That's just typical Jeopardy format. You can change the names if you want, if your kids are into that. And so what I've done is I've only filled out round 1, all right? And I have a bunch of poems up here for each round. So My Papa's Waltz, I think, is classic, and you can teach so much with that. So I used My Papa's Waltz. I did Jorge the Church Janitor Finally Quits by Martina Espada, The Portrait by Stanley Kunitz, Not Bad Dad, Not Bad by Jan Heller Levi. And then my students love it, Tupac's The Rose That Grew from a Crack in the Concrete. And then the sixth one is just open. You guys can fill it in if you want to use this template. So it just runs like regular Jeopardy, and you can keep scores. So I'll give you a sense of the types of questions I'm asking my students to meet them where they're at. So with My Papa's Waltz, let's say a student decides to go 200. One word best categorizes the diction of this poem: ambivalent. Unpack each moment of ambivalence in the poem by referring to the text directly. So what I want them to do is go stanza by stanza and really get their nose into the text and tear apart the diction to get at the heart of the ambivalence, because that's pretty much the entire poem. So just go around. You can keep scoring here. Defer the question if the team doesn't get it correct. And yeah, that's just kind of sort of what I have here. So like for the Tupac poem, are we talking about a rose or are we talking about something else? Name of that term and or device. So clearly you're not talking about a rose, you're talking about the personification of the rose, an extended metaphor. So that's kind of what I have going on here. And I'll just show you one more. So let's see. I'll do My Papa's Waltz again. I spy with my little eye that the poem contains a blend of forced and regular rhyme scheme. Good observation, so what? So I always tell that to my students because they'll say, yes, the rhyme scheme's very regular, Mr. Kuhn. And I'll say, well, good observation, so what? What are you going to do with that? So my next question is, how does the rhyme scheme create meaning in the work as a whole? So that's where I'm going with this. And so you have those 5 poems. The template, you can fill in, 6 more poems in round 2 and then have a final Jeopardy round. You got daily doubles in here, the whole kit and caboodle. So again, My Papa's Waltz, Jorge the Church Janitor Finally Quits by Martina Espada, Stanley Kunitiz The Portrait, Not Bad Dad, Not Bad by Jan Heller Levi, and Tupac's The Rose That Grew from a Crack in the Concrete. So if you want me to pass this on to you, I'll be more than willing to. teachingwritingcoach@gmail.com. So hopefully you find this to be useful for your discussions, and it can yield some good writing, because that's ultimately what we need. So take care for now. Happy teaching, happy discussing, happy writing.